this morning, extending down into southwest Mississippi. Tornado warnings have extended all the way down to Lake Charles. So this line right here isn't moving much. And the secondary part of this storm system hasn't quite got to our region yet. That's why these storms haven't started to move all that much. But over the next couple of hours, we're going to be watching for additional storms to develop in this region. This is going to be on the western sides of our viewing area towards Baton Rouge, the river parishes, and down towards maybe Morgan City and Houma. And we already have some storms. These are the initial signs of what is coming as we go through the remainder of the day. So in the next hour or two, things could start to get active for some locations. A closer look at things show that we do have active showers and storms developing across the river parishes, Livingston Parish, but none of them are severe at this point, but that could change in the next couple of hours as conditions become more favorable for severe thunderstorms. So right now, everything's fairly tame as of 10 a.m., but that could change in the coming hours. Let's get you started with a timeline here of what we're expecting with storms, the timing of the storms, and when, more importantly, things clear on out. So right now, a few isolated showers, thunderstorms going up. None of them are severe, but they could gain intensity over the coming hour or two. As we get closer to the noon and 1 p.m. hour, notice we start to see some intense storms approach Baton Rouge, down towards the river parishes, maybe even a few showers starting to approach the metro. But still not widespread bad storms across the entire area, even at noon and 1 o'clock. Now, as we get further into the afternoon, this is when our severe weather threat really starts to ramp up across the entire region. These individual cells scattered in here, North Shore, South Shore, up the river parishes, back towards Morgan City and into Lafayette. These storms will pose a severe weather risk, including the risk for tornadoes. Notice this is 2 to 3. In the afternoon. Let's go further. Let's go to 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Still intense storms around the region. So this is not going to be a single line of storms that moves in and then an hour later it moves on out. There's likely going to be multiple cells, supercells, developing across the region through the afternoon, and each one of those will pose a severe weather risk. And our main concern with those, of course, will be for some tornadoes. So that's what we're watching. As we get closer to let's stop it at 6 o'clock here. Notice as we get to the 6 p.m. hour, things finally starting to clear from west to east. So river parishes, Baton Rouge, by 6 o'clock you should be fine, it looks like. The city in New Orleans, North Shore St. Tammany Parish, probably closer to the 6 to 7 p.m. hour, things are improving. And then after 8 o'clock, this is all moving on out. But we still got a solid, nearly 8 hours of just watching and just in standby mode. This is one of those days that it's unfortunately going to be just kind of standing by and see how things evolve as we go through the afternoon. Other than storms, it is windy. This is a very strong storm system. There is a lot of wind shear. Wind shear mean winds turning with height, winds increase in speed with height. All that coupled together is the perfect recipe for severe weather down here along the Gulf Coast. So winds are gusty even before the storms even get here. That's pumping in that deep tropical moisture that these thunderstorms need. It also creates the strong shear that can create spinning supercells and in turn can create tornadoes. So that threat, it's at a level 3 today. I will say the Storm Prediction Center was considering throwing out a level 4 for areas in South Mississippi. It does look like the highest risk for severe storms and tornadoes is going to be right in this corridor, South Mississippi, maybe up towards Hattiesburg and into southwestern Alabama. So that zone in there, I think, is where we're going to have the highest tornado threat, but we're all included under this threat for severe storms, even the South Shore and the North Shore. So it doesn't matter what side of the lake you're on, the threat is certainly there. And our number one concern with all this is going to be for those rotating supercells, which can produce tornadoes. And not something we typically talk a lot about down here are strong tornadoes. You have to have a lot of things come together just right to get strong tornadoes here, especially on the South Shore. And we've seen it earlier this year in March. We had that EF3 tornado go through the Arabi area. So you can get strong tornadoes here on the South Shore, even usually they're on the North Shore. So as we go through the day, the environment is just going to become more and more favorable for the tornadoes and maybe some stronger tornadoes. Our disturbance is going to be swinging through the area this afternoon after some daytime heating, building up those instability. All that coupled together means the ingredients will be even higher this afternoon than what they have been this morning. So as we go through the afternoon, there will be that potential for even a few strong tornadoes. Now keep in mind, even though we're forecasting there to be severe weather today, many of you will get through the day without seeing anything too bad. That's how severe weather works. It doesn't impact every single location on the map. And unfortunately, meteorology technology isn't good enough to tell you exact locations on the map, but we do know the entire area has the ingredients, and if a thunderstorm moves through those ingredients, it could produce a tornado or two. And that is our main concern, tornadoes. A few of them could be strong. Secondary threats, damaging wind gusts over 60 miles an hour, and flooding. Now down here, flooding can happen anytime. It could be passing showers that linger too long can cause flooding. So the flooding risk is certainly something we'll be watching this afternoon with any of these downpours. Large hail, that's typically not a huge problem down here. You know, we could see some hail upwards the size of quarters, but main concern definitely going to be for tornadoes, flooding, and damaging wind. How much rain are we talking here? Well, I do think the highest flooding potential is going to continue to be from the Jackson area and north of Macomb, so Brookhaven down towards southwest Mississippi. It's going to be right in this corridor where we've already been picking up torrential rain all morning long. Storms have been training. That's going to continue this morning. So that's where the flooding threat's highest. Now down here in southeast Louisiana, South Mississippi, there are going to be some pockets of higher totals. Wherever you see the little swaths, those are where your supercells are going to move, and that could happen virtually anywhere. That's where you're going to see your 2 to 3 inches, maybe even over 3 inches, and that's where your flooding threat's going to be highest. But notice, not everyone's going to see that 4-inch mark. It's going to be more isolated with those higher totals. But once again, that could happen anywhere. So if it happens in a flood-prone area, well, then you've got problems. So that's what we'll be watching with that flooding potential. Now, after 8 p.m., a lot of this moves out. Things improve if you've been wanting colder weather. Well, we finally have it after nearly a solid 3 weeks of above average temperatures. Goodbye. We are looking at a chilly and dry night. The rain will move out tonight and it'll be dropping into the 40s and 50s, and then we're going to really settle into a cool pattern all the way into early next week. And there's signs that this cold pattern sticks around all the way into Christmas. So we may actually get a cold Christmas this year. It's still too far out to talk exact numbers and things like that, but I like the trends I'm seeing with our pattern as we head into the holiday. And after our storm chances this afternoon and the severe weather threat this afternoon, we got a little rain in the forecast. I think we could have some showers Saturday. Sunday looks dry. Next week, another storm system blows in, but it should be cool enough that the air is not unstable and we don't really have to worry about severe weather beyond today. So a little rain this weekend, a little rain early next week, but really our severe weather threat is going to be highest today. So once again, if you're just joining us, our severe weather threat is going to be ramping up over the next couple of hours and lasting all the way through the afternoon. There's no definite timeline on when the storm is going to get to your location. There's just going to be that threat throughout much of the afternoon as we see cells pop up. It's probably not going to be a perfect squall line, that solid squall line of rain. It's probably going to be some cells mixed in here and there, and those do pose a tornado risk. Tornado watch is in effect for the North Shore and river parishes, but we will likely see the South Shore and all of the South Shore and South Mississippi added to that later on through the day, and that just tells you that conditions are favorable for tornadoes. Once again, we're already watching storms fire here in the vicinity of Baton Rouge, Ascension Parish, and these are going to be moving towards the northeast. These are the initial cells. As they strengthen, they could begin to rotate, and we'll have to keep an eye on these, especially locations, river parishes, and on the North Shore in the next couple of hours. So make sure you have that tornado plan, and if you need to use it, you know what you need to do. It's better safe than sorry to have that plan. Also, I do want to mention, if you live in a trailer, if you're still living maybe in a FEMA trailer, or if you live in a manufactured home that's not a secured, doesn't have a secure foundation to the ground, think about spending the afternoon elsewhere. A lot of times these are days where it's just a good idea to not be in those places. That is typically where we see from tornadoes, where you see deaths and things. It's from mobile homes. It's from trailers that get tossed because they're just not secured to the ground like a well-structured and sturdy home. So if you live in any of those, and I know we do still have a lot of families in those after the hurricane a year and a half ago, be thinking about spending the afternoon somewhere else. Better safe than sorry. Hopefully you don't have to worry about it, but you don't want to have to jump in your car and try to outrun a tornado, which is extremely dangerous. So that's going to do it for our 10 a.m. update on what is expected to be an active severe weather day. It's just getting started. Of course, we're going to be here tracking it for you. The whole weather team is here. Alexandria will be on at noon for the update there on Channel 4, so make sure you tune in for that. We've got Michelle Morgan out in our mobile forecast center, keeping an eye on things out in the field. And then, of course, Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin will be in later this afternoon tracking everything as it moves to the region as well. So we've all got you covered. Of course, we'll get through today, but just make sure you have that plan, and of course, you're staying weather aware. That's going to do it for our 10 a.m. update. Thanks for joining me.